Reading my Common App
The essay.
Reading the letter S.
Reading my college essay.
Reading the essay.
Reading my Common App essay.
Diversity essay. Reading my college
Reading
essay.
college essay.
I remember during college app season, I would spend hours reading Kids, the essay that got me into Harvard, or some other big university, with my school stats and SAT scores being what I believed were average to my fellow try-hard peers. I had every intention of making my essay perfect.
I've been thinking about myself today, thinking how I changed, how I really don't.
It was around this time last year that I was rejected from my dream school. I still know exactly where I was when I received my decision letter notification. I remember where I cried, who I called first, and feeling this immense wave of self-doubt. It was at that moment that I wondered, maybe if I just put in more work, or maybe if I cared a little bit more, maybe if I studied more, it would have been worth it. I used to clown on the phrase, rejection is redirection. I thought it was so silly, but after a year's worth of reflection, I've realized that it is indeed the case, and I wouldn't have traded this experience for the world. Because of this experience, I've built new relationships, I've found more comfort in change, and most importantly, I found Jesus. So, this is the final dinner, aka the college essay that did not get me into my dream college. My eyes puffy and cheeks rosy pink, I tasted the salt from my tears as I slumped in the corner of the dining room. I had yet again been put in a century-long timeout. With criminally induced ideas filling my head, I planned to grab the landline and call my friends to help me break out of my chandelier and antique centerpiece-filled prison cell. However, suppressed by my fear of getting into more trouble, I tamed my 6-year-old brain's beast-like creativity and stared straight ahead at the large portrait above the dining table. Pupils fixed on the woven textures plastered onto each of the 13 men's faces, my attention darted from the folds of the tablecloth to the articulate gold trim surrounding the frame. I was intrigued. I hadn't known it at the time, but that portrait was the Last Supper. Last. Despite using that word in my everyday language, its true meaning applied to my life was foreign. My childhood was built upon the idea that a family that eats together stays together. I remember waking up to the slow sear of the pan after my parents came home from their night shift, and how those Sundays before church, they would tell my older brother and I about their captivating experiences as nurses. Every laugh at the table and every debate over dish duty deepened my attachment to these seemingly mundane moments. There was no such thing as last. As years went on living in this fantasy, I grew beyond accustomed to our traditions and uncanny familial bond. However, as college life dawned upon my older brother, our final week together no longer held comical work stories or mindless bickering, only solemn expressions and tears. At the beginning of my sophomore year of high school, we were no longer a family of 4 eating together. We were 3 people and an empty chair at the dining table. My brother once said, "Life has never kicked us in the ass." He was right. Nothing bad had ever happened to me. It was when he left that I realized how ill-prepared I was for future adversities. Shortly after his departure, I encountered rejection, unimaginable stress, breakups, and betrayal from people I thought knew me best. I lost trust in all people and faith in myself, all while adjusting to the silence in the house my brother once filled. My entire world was refined grains of sand that fell right through my fingers every time I tried to pick it back up. I had never felt more alone. Through every hardship, my mother told me, "It's in God's hands." How could I trust someone I can't see to preserve my normalcy and keep my family together? I lacked that connection with God, despite being born into a Christian household. I constantly sought a genuine relationship with Him, but was never met with the opportunity. However, that opportunity, which I now believe was God-sent, appeared at the end of my sophomore year. My family and I spontaneously moved across town into a new home and school district for the first time. I was able to start fresh, meet new people, and finally feel content with my own company. However, despite the renewed hope and strengthened faith I had found in my life, the following year brought my father's exacerbating stage 3 chronic kidney failure and the diagnosis of my mother's malignant colorectal cancer. My mind couldn't fathom why God would trick me into thinking that my life was getting better. Yet I had continued to pray and trust in His plan. Through the support of my family and His guidance, I learned that change is inevitable, adversity builds character, and that life will always throw curveballs at me. God truly gives His hardest battles to His strongest warriors, shaping the direction of my life for what it is to be. And for the first time, I can confidently say I walk with Christ. With my brother home for the summer, all 4 chairs are filled again. Partaking in another meal together, I look up to see the same frame. The astonishment of my youth, the 100-pound work once bubble-wrapped in a moving truck, hung above the new dining room table. As the enlightening experiences of my newfound beliefs continue to heighten, I wonder, would we ever have our Last Supper, or will my family eat together in the kingdom of God?
I've been thinking about myself today, thinking how have I changed, how I really don't care if you are here or if you don't stay. Now I'm feeling those winter blues, but I don't wanna cry, 'cause all we ever do is laugh it off, and I'm sick and I don't know